So the free agency started out with a bang for the Green Bay Packers, signing both Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney the very first day of free agency, while subsequently releasing Aaron Jones, Devondre Campbell, and David Bakhtiari. But since then, free agency has really cooled down for the Green Bay Packers. Yes, they re-signed Keyshawn Nixon and A.J. Dillon, but two of their own free agents. But since Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs, the Packers have yet to sign another outside free agent. And many positions of need, such as inside linebacker, interior offensive lineman, and even another safety, has been kind of picked clean since Monday. So in today's video, I kind of wanted to go over some of the remaining free agents that the Packers could be looking at to add to this roster. Because as I mentioned, inside linebacker is probably one of the Packers' biggest needs right now. They released Devondre Campbell. They re-signed Christian Welch, but they really only have, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie as of right now. They could still bring back Eric Wilson, who's an unrestricted free agent, mainly a special teamer, but did see some defensive snaps last year. But overall, I could still see the Packers going out, maybe signing a veteran inside linebacker on top of drafting one in the early to middle round. Then, of course, safety. Yes, they did sign Xavier McKinney, and that's going to be a huge boost to the safety room, but it's still very light. You have McKinney, you have Anthony Johnson Jr., Benny Sapp, and Zane Anderson. Now, yes, I still think the Packers are going to draft 1 to 2 safeties, but they could go out and sign a veteran free agent safety. And same goes for interior offensive line. John Runyon was not brought back, signed with the Giants for $10 million annually, which is just insane in my opinion. But there are a couple of veteran free agent guards that the Packers might want to bring in to have competition or a surefire starter at that right guard spot. So the first free agent I wanted to go over is a former Green Bay Packer, but not an impending free agent this year, and that is Micah Hyde. Because last week I saw a tweet basically saying that the Packers have some interest in Micah Hyde. While it's nowhere near a done deal, sources tell me and at Third Down Thursday that the Packers and former Green Bay safety Micah Hyde have real mutual interest in a reunion for 2024. Hyde was with Green Bay from 2013 to 2016 and has spent the last 7 of his career playing for the Bills. So although I'm not huge on the Packers potentially bringing in a 33-year-old safety, I do think some veteran presence in this safety room would be great. I mean, Xavier McKinney is the oldest one, and he's actually the same age as Anthony Johnson Jr., but 24 years old there. So I think bringing a veteran into this room would be a good idea to do. That's on top of maybe drafting someone in the first to second round as well. And of course, Micah Hyde coming back to Green Bay, there's no real actual connection since he was here last. I mean, it's not the same coach, not the same general manager. A lot has changed, but he does at least know what it is to be a Green Bay Packer and live in the area. Now, looking at Micah Hyde's PFF profile, I'm going to bring this up from last year. He played in pretty much all of the games, and he did have some great games early in the season, 90.4 against Washington, 85.6 against the Jets, but also some really low games. And in terms of PFF grade, it was actually one of his lower grades of his career. I mean, we see he had some great years in Buffalo. Right after leaving Green Bay, he had his best year via PFF, followed by 2 really great years, above average year in 2020, a great year in 2021, an above average year in 2022, and he's still above average in 2023 with that 64.4, but not near the same level he was at, the previous years in Buffalo. Hyde had 41 total tackles with 7 missed, or a 12.3% missed tackle rate, including 7 stops. He allowed 25 receptions on 32 targets for 314 yards. He allowed 4 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions, and allowed a quarterback rating of 121.1. So Micah Hyde, now 33 years old, definitely a shell of his former self, but I wouldn't be mad at the signing if it was somewhere near the veteran minimum. The safety market has definitely crashed the last few years, and Micah Hyde still being on the market shows he might not have a lot of interest, and this might be his last contract, his last 1-year deal until he retires. So if the Packers were to go ahead and say, hey, Micah Hyde, come back to Green Bay, basically retire here, we'll give you a 1-year deal worth the veteran minimum, not much risk, I'm okay with that, but anything more than that, I'm probably not on board with. Now we're going to go over a couple inside linebackers the Packers could be looking at. As I mentioned, this is a big need for them, and it has pretty much been picked clean. I mean, bringing up this screen here, you can see all the linebackers that have signed in free agency so far. Recently, Jerome Baker signed with the Seahawks. I thought he was one that the Packers might be eyeing to bring into Green Bay. I thought he'd be a good fill-in type of linebacker in 1 year for $7 million. I think that's a good price for him. Tons tons of other linebackers signed around the league, including, Blake Cashman, Josie Jewell. These are guys that a lot of people thought, hey, the Packers could be interested in those guys. Really, the only linebackers left are Zach Cunningham, Shaquille Leonard, and Isaiah Simmons. So the two that I would be interested in out of those three is Zach Cunningham and Isaiah Simmons. So let's start with Isaiah Simmons, actually coming off his best year via PFF last year on the New York Giants. We know the first 3 years in Arizona, not great. He's kind of that tweener type of linebacker, like potentially a safety, but also a linebacker. But I think that's kind of what the Packers need, like a guy that can just play in that box, can be good in coverage, right? Cover linebackers, cover running backs, and a sideline-to-sideline guy. And that's what Isaiah Simmons is. I mean, he's extremely fast as well. He had some great PFF graded games in 2023. We've seen 85.8 against Washington and 90.5 against Seattle. And given this is not many snaps, it's 378 snaps. So he wasn't starting for the Giants, but when he came in, he did make some plays and overall had his best graded year overall. Not a great tackle grade, not great against the run, but really great against coverage, 82.7 in 2023. That low tackle grade is, of course, because he had 30 tackles, but 9 missed. So a pretty high missed tackle rate at 16.4%. Now in coverage, he allowed 17 receptions on 21 targets for 153 yards. He did have 1 interception and 2 pass breakups and allowed a 77.2 passer rating. Isaiah Simmons is another guy that I think if the Packers were to just take like a 1-year prove-it deal near the veteran minimum, where maybe he can earn some incentives based on play time, I'd be completely fine with that. So we're entering the spot of free agency, at least for the Green Bay Packers' sake, where they're going to be looking at the bottom end of free agency and giving maybe prove-it deals to some veterans or some guys that really haven't done great in the NFL, but hey, maybe they can turn it around in Green Bay, like a Devondre Campbell, like a Rasul Douglas. So these guys definitely aren't off the radar of the Green Bay Packers, in my opinion, and if they want to add some needed depth to that inside linebacker room on top of some draft picks, I think Isaiah Simmons wouldn't be a bad add. Next is Zach Cunningham, most recently with the Philadelphia Eagles. He is 29 years old, but if they want to add a veteran into that inside linebacker room for cheap, I think Zach Cunningham would be a good pick at that. Also coming off his best PFF graded year in 2023 for the Eagles, a 69.4, and had 717 total snaps. So a ton of snaps, and we see over his career, he played with both Houston and the Tennessee Titans, and then most recently with the Philadelphia Eagles. Looking at his stats, he had 7 total pressures last year. He had 66 tackles with 12 missed, a 12.4 missed tackle percentage. And in terms of coverage, as a coverage linebacker, if we see here, he had 45 receptions allowed on 61 targets for 372 yards. He only allowed 1 touchdown, no interceptions, but had 4 pass breakups and allowed a 94.4 passer rating. So in terms of the inside linebackers left, Zach Cunningham, definitely the one with the most snaps last year. So if they wanted a guy with experience, a veteran add into that inside linebacker room, obviously they lost a big veteran in Devondre Campbell because he was just too expensive and I guess didn't really fit their new defense. But I think Zach Cunningham would be a nice add in terms of a free agent inside linebacker that's left, because like I said, it's been pretty much picked clean. Before we dive into the next couple of free agents I see fit for the Green Bay Packers, I want to let you guys know that this video is being powered by Sleeper, and throughout the remainder of March, I am still giving away this signed Christian Watson jersey here. Thank you to Sleeper. Sleeper is a fantasy sports plus real money gaming app focused on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world with over 5 million active users. Choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live, or even across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats. On Sleeper, you can get up to 100x payouts. And right now on Sleeper, using the link down in the description and using code BASS when signing up and making a first-time deposit, you can get a deposit match up to $500. So for example, if you were to go in and deposit $100 with code BASS, then you'll have $200 to play with in your Sleeper account. And doing that, signing up for Sleeper, using code BASS, making a first-time deposit is all you need to do to enter in this signed Christian Watson jersey here. So it's very easy to enter. Go down, click the link, or search for Sleeper on your app store. Use code BASS at sign up and first time deposit, and you will get a first time deposit match, as well as be entered in the signed Christian Watson jersey giveaway. The winner will be announced on April 1st on my community tab. Again, thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. So now let's wrap up the video with two other free agents that I could see fit for the Green Bay Packers. Now these are both at the guard position because as of right now, Sean Ryan is set to be the starting right guard. Will that change between now and the start of training camp? Yes, most likely. The Packers will probably draft multiple offensive linemen, some versatile guys that can play center, can play guard, or can play tackle, and they also could sign a free agent. So that moves me into my first guard free agent, and that is Kevin Zeitler, most recently of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, he is a 34-year-old guard, but if you want to bring a veteran who's done it for a very long time and has done it at a very high level, that guy is Kevin Zeitler. He's been with plenty of different teams and has played at that high level with all of them, first with Cincinnati, then Cleveland, then the Giants, and then most recently for 3 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens. And you can see some of his PFF grades across the years. Last year coming off a 69.3 PFF grades, and if you look, he only gave up 2 sacks last year on 19 pressures. So a low pressure rate, a low sack rate, an excellent pass blocker. He had an 82.5 pass block grade last year, an overall grade of 69.3. And not to mention, Zeitler has played 12,000 snaps at the right guard position over his career since 2012. So if you want to bring in a true starter, like a guy that plug and play into right guard for the Green Bay Packers, because maybe you're not ready for Sean Ryan to be there yet. Maybe you're not ready for a rookie you draft in the 4th to 5th round to step into stardom at right guard, and you want kind of a 1-year veteran rental type of guy for probably pretty cheap. Kevin Zeitler is definitely your guy. Now, another right guard option that might be a bit cheaper if you think Zeitler's going to get a decent amount of money is Dalton Risner, most recently with the Minnesota Vikings. He's a 28-year-old guard, will be 29 by the start of the season, and he's coming off not a great graded PFF season per se in regards to PFF, a 57.1, but in regards to his stats, he didn't allow a single sack. Now, he didn't play a full season. He was signed to the Vikings in week 6, but he played every game after that and didn't allow a single sack, but did allow 30 different pressures. And unlike Zeitler, he has played all of his snaps at left guard in his career, 4,500 snaps, but that wouldn't be as hard of a switch to put him over to the right side. He had 4 years in Denver where he graded around average to above average every year. He's coming off his worst PFF grade in Minnesota, but you know, the Vikings weren't great in terms of their offensive line. I mean, they really couldn't establish a running game. So this is a guy that is mainly like a depth add. Where Zeitler is like, okay, that's going to start at right guard. He's going to start at right guard right away. Dalton Risner is more so, okay, we need depth at the position, maybe a veteran guy to come in, and let's have a training camp battle with, you know, Sean Ryan, Dalton Risner, and maybe a rookie. And Dalton Risner would likely be near a vet minimum with not much guarantees, so you could probably move on from him before the season starts if, say, Sean Ryan steps up or a rookie steps up and they're the clear and front starter. So there's 2 different avenues you could go here at right guard for the Green Bay Packers. I think Kevin Zeitler would be an awesome free agency ad for the Packers in this coming week if they were to go out and sign a veteran, a true starter on that offensive line. I mean, this offense is super young. I think the average age is like 25 or 26 years old after getting rid of David Bakhtiari and Aaron Jones. And I know a lot of people want to keep it like that, but I think adding a veteran at right guard like Kevin Zeitler would be huge. But I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. This is just a handful of some of the free agents that I see, you know, maybe a potential fit for the Green Bay Packers at positions of need with safety, inside linebacker, and offensive guard. A lot of the players have been picked clean. Jordan Fuller was a safety I really wanted the Packers to also add to Xavier McKinney, and he was just recently signed by the Carolina Panthers, and safety doesn't have that many options. I put Micah Hyde in today's video because there was that rumor that they have interest in him, but there's also some other options such as Julian Blackmon that maybe the Packers could add as well. Just let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Out of all these free agents, which one would you like the most in the green and gold for 2024? But that about does it for this one. If you could, please leave a like down below. It supports my channel a ton, but I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.